hear burn it. And in the back of my brain, I'm thinking to myself, why would I burn it? That's ridiculous. And then I heard it again, and it was sterner. It wasn't rude or mean, but it was very matter of fact and stern. And it said, burn it. And then in my brain, I'm thinking to myself again, what am I going to do? Burn all my cards? You know, it's like I'm having this argument in my brain with myself. And then I heard it again, burn it. So I said, all right. I come over to the sink, and I'm trying to burn the edges of the card. It's not lighting on fire. And then I try to hold the flame under the middle of the card where the symbol of the evil eye is, or protection symbol. And the card puffs open like a puff pastry. And this electric blue, very long-legged spider thingy crawls out of it, and I scream.
Welcome to God's Voice Daily. I'm your host, Vladimir Proknevsky, and this is the channel where I share daily phone calls with people from around the world who've had real supernatural encounters with Jesus, angels, demons, and everything in between. Some of these calls go on to become full episodes on our main show called God's Voice Today, but here you will hear them raw and unfiltered, just the way they happened. So without any further ado, let's dive into today's featured call. Enjoy. Is this my first time talking to you?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, Melissa, without any further ado, Melissa, I'd love to hear your testimony.
Oh, okay. So, do you want me to try to sum it up to make it shorter?
Well, I'm curious, what kind of an encounter did you have? Did you have an encounter with a supernatural, like Jesus, demons?
Jesus was talking to me. So what happened was I ended up, without getting into too many details to start, getting into tarot cards and doing readings for people and being very accurate. People paying me to do this, doing parties with 200 people and
Wow.
and stuff like that. But then along the way, it just started popping up on my phone on YouTube videos and stuff that this was demonic, that tarot was bad, stuff like that. And I was I didn't really believe it because I grew up Catholic. I went to Catholic school for 12 years. And I used to pray before I read cards for people. I'd pray to God and Jesus before I even read cards and stuff like that. And the answers were helpful. They weren't harmful. They weren't negative, and they were accurate. So I thought I was helping people. But then when these videos showed up, and then other things happened too. I noticed if God's trying to get a message to you, it might come through many sources. So my 26-year-old son came to me. He's like, I don't think you should be reading tarot cards. And then somebody else said that to me. They're like, I don't know if this is really of God like you think. And then I seen a video, I think, about Doreen Virtue saying things like, this is demonic. She made a mistake. And I didn't really believe it because to me it was helpful. So I became very upset because I've always loved God. I've always talked to Jesus. I've always loved Mary. I became very upset. Am I deceived? Am I ignorant? So I prayed on it very hard, and in tears. And 3 days later, I didn't see Jesus, but he showed up and he was talking to me and he gave me very distinct things to follow, to do, to not do.
Really?
So,
what did he say?
So what happened is I had a lot of tarot cards from reading. I had about 100 decks.
Wow.
I know.
Just 100, huh?
Yes, it's a lot. I liked the pictures. They were like artwork to me. They spoke to me. It was a bit much. We'll call it obsessive, as it turns out. But I was sitting at my desk one day, and I had a deck of cards sitting there. And on the back of the deck of cards, there was a picture of an evil, not an evil eye, but, the protection symbol of an eye. And then all of a sudden I heard, and I didn't know who was speaking to me at first, I heard burn it. And then I don't know if you've ever thought something in your head, your mind automatically gives you a response. Even if you're not asking somebody a question, if you wake up in the morning and you think in your head, oh, maybe I'll cut the lawn today. Your brain's already answering but I don't feel like cutting the lawn. Or maybe I should hire the kid down the street to cut the lawn for me. You know what I mean? You automatically generate responses in your own brain to your own thoughts. So I hear burn it. And in the back of my brain, I'm thinking to myself, why would I burn it? That's ridiculous. And then I heard it again, and it was sterner. it wasn't rude or mean, but it was very matter of fact and stern. And it said, burn it. And then in my brain, I'm thinking to myself again, what am I going to do? Burn all my cards? It's like I'm having this argument in my brain with myself. And then I heard it again, burn it. So I said, all right. I come over to the sink and I'm trying to burn the edges of the card. It's not lighting on fire. And then I try to hold the flame under the middle of the card where the symbol of the evil eye is, or protection symbol. And the card puffs open like a puff pastry. Like if you think of a croissant, how there's like air in the middle.
What?
It puffs open. And this electric blue, very long-legged spider thingy crawls out of it, and I scream and I drop it in the sink. Because I lit it over the sink, because I'm not big on lighting stuff on fire in my house, So I
And where did it go? Was it just like a vision almost, or was it like an actual spider?
No, it was an actual like electric blue spider that crawled right out of the middle of the eye. And I just screamed and I dropped it. And then I heard very clearly, now you see the truth. Now, I have to admit I was somewhat ignorant, even though I went to Catholic school and all that kind of stuff. I always acknowledged God, and I used to say, like, I only acknowledge one source. I didn't really believe in the devil. I didn't really acknowledge the devil or anything like that. So, like, what I was seeing, I kind of had to see it to believe it. And at that time, I didn't know what it was. But now I know it's almost like how they talk about monitoring spirits. These things can watch you, hear you, and stuff through what you have and what you're doing.
So much about monitoring spirits. It seems like a lot of callers lately have been bringing that up. Interesting.
Never knew it existed. To me, this stuff sounded a bit crazy. To be honest, I think that's how we get so deceived, because it seems so crazy. And then God had to show me. So I scream, I drop the car, and I hear, now you see the truth. Those are his exact words. Now you see the truth. And I'm like, I didn't know there was something in these cards or whatever. So this is in my kitchen. I come out of my kitchen, and I was, like I said, really big in tarot reading. I had crystals, had cards, dream catchers, you name it. I had it all. So I walk into my living room, and on the right side of my living room, I had like a mural on my wall with pictures of my family and stuff. And recently my biological father had died right before I was born. My mom had found his dog tags from the service, and she gave them to me, and I hung them up on the edge of this picture. So I'm walking out of my kitchen into my living room, and I look to the right at the dog tags, and I hear very clearly, keep nothing of the dead. Bury it. And then I'm thinking to myself, my God, I just got these from my biological dad. I don't have anything. But it was very clear. And it's like, it's not that you have to do it, but it's stern and it's matter of fact. Keep nothing of the dead. Bury it. So then I put that in my mind. I take it down. I set it aside. I'm walking through my living room. I look to the left. And behind my desk on the wall, I had a big cloth like mural of like the universal symbol, because I was also into like chakras and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, this is the universal symbol of love. And he says, take it down, throw it away. I'm like, all right. Keep no symbols. Nothing. He's telling me, keep no symbols. So I take that down. And it goes through this as I go through my whole entire house. And these are things that I just wanted to share with people, because I think we are very ignorant. Now, the one thing he said to me that really upset me and brought me to tears every time I heard it was the same thing that I think is in the Bible. I do read the Bible, but I haven't maybe got to this part yet. But I know I've heard it before, where Jesus says, my people will perish because of their ignorance or their lack of knowledge. And that made me very sad, because it's like, oh my God, we're going to perish. But look at me. I had no clue. I think I'm doing something good. So that really made me sad for the people of the world. It's like, we really just don't know that all of this is true or what to be careful of. But
Ignorance is
basically,
not bliss, right?
no, it's not. But I'm like, how can you be punished for what you don't understand? Because, like, I had no clue what was going on with me. But yeah, he gave me a lot of instructions. Like, you really shouldn't have anything with symbols of like skulls. You really shouldn't, like, you know how people like to go to thrift stores and stuff? You really shouldn't wear other people's clothes. And cleanliness really is close to godliness. You need to be clean, keep your clothes clean, those type of things.
Interesting.
Apparently,
You
it's
said
all in.
don't wear other people's clothes. Like if you go to, let's say, Goodwill or something like that.
Right, because you don't know what's on it or what's in it. You don't know what kind of essence is on it. You really shouldn't be wearing used stuff.
And cleanliness, like just, are you talking about like keeping things tidy? It's like order.
Just being clean, tidiness, order, and your body being clean. I mean, we all shower and stuff like that, but you know, I've always heard cleanliness is close to godliness, but I didn't realize like this is actually a matter of fact. You need to be clean. Your area needs to be clean. Apparently, when you're not or your space is not, it can invite other things in.
Interesting. So if wherever there's no order, right? If there's chaos, they use
Right,
chaos.
something to that. But it's not stuff I would have ever thought of on my own, you know?
Something you just briefly mentioned about skulls, that's so interesting to me because I've heard somebody say that usually when you see somebody like wearing skulls a lot, like they're just gravitate towards that. Usually that means that they have a spirit of suicide in them. And I kind of growing up, or when I heard it, I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. But recently, it wasn't even a year ago. Like I think this month, exactly a year ago, next month, June, July, I think. Well, an instructor, my kids used to be part of this. It was Krav Maga or something like that. Anyway, and I'm sure somebody would be like, "Oh, martial arts is bad," and I subscribe to it now. I don't think it's necessarily good for you. But anyway, but for a very short season, they were part of this Krav Maga, and the instructor was an amazing guy. I think his dad was a pastor, but he had all these tattoos, and he just had like his whole gym was like had these skulls, and like recently, I even picked up his card, and it's black and has skull on it, and it's made out of metal. This like stainless steel kind of business card. Interesting thing, but what's so interesting is that he took his own life
Oh, wow.
not long ago. Well, like less than a year, or like exactly, it will be next month, will be exactly a year. And it's interesting when I found out that he passed away, they didn't say what it was. And I looked at my wife, I knew exactly what it was. I was like, yeah, because like that spirit of suicide, his skulls were all over him. He was gravitating towards them.
Right, that makes sense. Like, to me, I didn't know what it meant. I just know, like, God is like, this is not good, you know? But that makes sense. If you have pictures of death all around you, even if you're not thinking it's a bad thing, it could, yes, where your focus is, what you see every day, you know,
And
it's
the
all
music, like it was all like just dark stuff. And I just remember thinking, I even made a comment to my wife. It's like, man, it's just like he's just gravitating towards this darkness. It's kind of weird. But you said another thing, you said keep no symbols.
right. No symbols, like even the peace sign. These things apparently are like demonic. I mean, I guess other than the cross, no Egyptian
What about clothes
symbols,
that
no
have
peace
like
sign. I'm
logos on
sorry.
them? What about like clothes like that have logos? Like, I don't know, like I'm wearing Under Armour right now. Things like that.
What's their logo look like?
It's you upside down. It's like Under Armour, just under an armor just to use upside down attached. Well, I'm just curious, interesting. So it's like obviously they're symbols that are demonic. We all know it. But what about
Right.
like brand logos and things of that nature?
I think there's stuff hidden in certain brand logos that might be demonic that we don't even know. Let me put it to you that way. I'm just trying to go through a list of stuff he told me. Yeah, nothing with symbols other than the cross. Clothing. This is another one. Clothing from companies that knowingly defile God. If you're wearing something from somebody that's a Satan worshiper or somebody that blasphemes God and stuff, it's like you're endorsing the devil, you know?
Yeah, keep going. What else? I'm curious. These are all very
Yeah, I'm looking
interesting
through the list.
points.
anything that belonged to someone that talks to the dead. So anybody that's a medium or like anything I had. Like when and that was another thing. When Jesus was talking to me, he told me to throw out all the cards. So imagine this, 100 decks. Some of those decks were antiques. They were like $300 for one deck. So God tells me to throw it all out. And in my mind, like the lawnmower example I gave you, I'm thinking to myself, well, I could sell this stuff on eBay.
But you're just transferring that to somebody else.
Right. Well, and then Jesus said to me, do not deceive thy brothers and sisters as you have been deceived. That was the exact words. And I know I've heard something like this in the Bible before. I know I've heard this before, but they were the exact words. Do not deceive thy brothers and sisters as you have been deceived. And then you kind of, as a materialistic person to some degree, you're like, man, I got to throw out a lot of stuff that I spent a lot, like maybe $5,000 worth of cards and crystals and even clothes. Tons of stuff.
Melissa, what about you said keep nothing of the dead, like the ashes? He
was very stern. I was told to bury them. I had my cousin's ashes. She died at 50 from a blood clot to the heart. She died very fast and instantly. We were very close. I had her ashes. I was told to bury them. I was told to bury my dad's dog tags. And then there was one other item. I had a jade dragon that I got like 20 years ago. And it was a beautiful green jade, but now it had all these dark brown spots in it and cracks. And I'm like, I don't know what happened to this, but that's the other item, which I still don't understand to this day. He told me to bury it. He didn't just say to throw it away. He said, bury it. But yeah, nothing.
It's almost like
dead.
Symbolic.
I didn't hear you.
It's almost like symbolic, right? You bury it. I remove it from this earth, like from.
No, I buried it in the ground.
Wow.
He meant
did you do it all in the backyard?
Like, I dug a hole in my mom's backyard and buried it.
Yeah, but like the process, even the burying, like, right, you're putting it in the ground away from the surface of this earth. Like you just remove it completely, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Interesting. What else? Anything else that stands out?
Let's see. I'm just going through my notes here.
And so you were hearing this voice kind of like almost your own voice, right? Kind of like your own thoughts. It was like me and you talking. It was as clear as me and you speak. Actually, clearer than me and you speaking. Do you remember what he sounded like, or was it more of a just this somebody else in your spirit talking?
No, it was a man's voice. It was very clear. It wasn't telling me I had to do these things, but it was very direct, matter of fact. His exact words were, keep nothing of the dead. It wasn't like keep your grandma's ashes, keep your mom's $5,000 diamond ring. It was keep nothing of the dead. So to me, it's like stern and matter of fact. You can't really twist it around to fit what you want. But I really like that ring, Jesus,
Nothing of the dead. Melissa, something that as you were sharing this, I used to work for this guy in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. He has this museum that runs, that's what he called it. And it has all these like 500 something antique motorcycles. And these motorcycles, for some, like those people that made those motorcycles, it was like they were attached to them. That was their thing. And I remember every time some new person would pop in and he would say, hey, you can sleep in the museum overnight, some guest. And in the morning when we would walk inside the museum, that guest would have like, the eyes would be wide open because it's just like all night long I heard things speaking, talking. All these antiques had a lot of spirits attached to them. So it's interesting, almost like when the dead pass away, they have their stuff that they like loved or something. Maybe there's some kind of attachment that it has. So it's like keep nothing of that. But I do wonder, what if you pray over it? Then I guess
I don't know. He didn't say pray over to keep it. That's what I mean. Like you can't really mince up his words. He didn't tell me I had to do it. I wasn't being forced to do it. But there's a sternness in that voice, like your dad talking to you, kind of like you're supposed to follow it. You don't have to, but there's a matter of fact sternness Yeah, I don't know how else to describe it, but it was definitely a male's voice, and it was kind, but it was stern.
But it's interesting, this whole cleanliness, just being tidy, making sure that you're clean, all this. That's I heard a lot of things, but that one is kind of interesting. But yeah, it's just any kind of chaos, remove it. Anything that.
Right.
Anyway, Melissa, this is very interesting. You're giving me a lot of interesting things to think about. Hopefully, everyone watching this, they're taking notes and taking a lot of things. Kind of like searching your heart, your home. What are you bringing into your home? What do you have into your home? That's, and now thinking about it, I have this thing. I'm gonna get rid of it. Oh my gosh! Ooh, I have chills just thinking about this. So years ago, I bought this chair from Goodwill, and I reached down to the side, like to the, just, as soon as you get this rocking chair, you're trying to see, oh, I wonder if there's some cash or some kind of coins, and then you start going through, and I found this, like, a sack of a bunch of not coins, but rings, old rings, and
Oh, wow.
I have them, and they're like old, and I just kind of like, oh, I wonder if they're worth something. And I took him to like the jeweler, and he wasn't able to figure anything out. I was like, I'll just keep them. And it looks like earrings, regular rings, just all kinds of stuff that somebody, you can tell that this was in their family line for generations, and I
Oh,
still have it
wow.
today. And it's in fact next to my bed in the drawer, and I forget about it.
Right where you sleep. Right where you sleep. Oh my God. Yeah, no, bury those rings and throw that chair out. I,
Well,
uh,
the chair is out of my house now, but the rings, I was like, what if it's valuable one day?
well, I'm over here pouting over my mom's $5,000 ring she left me, because now I have to give it to somebody like my sister. We're so materialistic. It's funny as humans. But listen, when Jesus comes to your living room and he says, keep nothing of the dead, you're like, I got to give it up. It doesn't matter what it's worth. It's not worth my soul.
Yeah, but that thing, it's interesting. I never even thought about, the keepsake, for example. There's so much stuff in my keepsake that probably has, something to it that I shouldn't. There's something about even like this idea that hoarding. Why are you hoarding stuff?
Right. They're all
They're done. Move
attachments.
on. Wow. Well, that's
I believe they're
interesting.
all attachments. Yeah. And as far as deceased family members and people we love, we can always remember them, but I've always had this gift of, like, I could talk to deceased family members and stuff, and I never really knew it was demonic. I never, like, according to the Bible, these are fallen angels or spirits that are pretending to be your family members that are talking to you to deceive you. The Bible says the dead have nothing to say.
That's right.
I think holding on to this stuff might even draw it to me more. So I did exactly what Jesus said. I mean, when I tell you I threw out at least $5,000 worth of stuff, I'm not even counting my mom's ring. I got rid of it all. Now, the things that were family stuff, like my dad's prayer book and my mother's ring, my brother and sister, unfortunately, they don't believe. And that's why I'm afraid for our people of this world. I really am, because unless you have that personal experience, whether it's something demonic coming to you and that's real, and it wakes you up that if the devil's real, God's real, or if Jesus comes to you, or an angel themselves to talk to you, and then it's real because you've seen it, you felt it, you experienced it. People that haven't, it's very hard for them to believe you.
What do you make? What do you make of testimonies that, let's say, a loved one, let's say, recently a lady called. It was a powerful testimony, but then I shared with somebody. It's like, oh, no, you don't talk to the dead. But it was like her mom, who abused her all her life. She showed up to her, and then like told her how much she loved. It's kind of like, has this like closure, but she came out of her body, walk, and so that's technically talking to the dead, right?
Yes, absolutely. And that's why I was deceived. That's why I'm saying that's why what Jesus said about his people perishing because of their ignorance is why it's so scary. Because they come across as good things. Like when I did the cards or I talked to dead for people that their family members passed over, it was good messages. It was loving messages. It was messages of acceptance and forgiveness. But Lucifer was the angel of light, you know? So I think there's truth in there to deceive you, to pull you down this rabbit hole. Because once you think it's real, you know, you fall for it.
Because they play the long game, right?
Yes, absolutely. I believe so. Because like I said, I was totally deceived, and I love God. I love Jesus. I love Mary. I was totally deceived. And then it was funny when I started reading the Bible, because after this, I started reading the Bible. The first time I opened the Bible, I just opened it up, you know, and started reading to where I opened. And the first thing I read was it's something like you can't dine at the table with God and with devils. So you can't be a God-loving Christian and read tarot and talk to the dead. His message showed up right in the Bible, too. You can't dine with the devil and with God. You just can't. It's one or the other.
Well, Melissa, I tell you what, after this conversation, I'm going to go to my bedroom. I'm going to take those rings. I'm going to bury them.
Yeah.
I don't know why I kept them. Like that's, and you know what? My wife even told me, it's like, get rid of them. Why do you want them? I'm like, I don't know. This is antique.
Son. See, you're getting messages from more than one place. You're hearing it from me. You heard it from your wife. My son told me, Mom, I don't think you should be doing tarot cards. You know, and then I got messages from like 3 different sources. And then that's when I started really paying attention to it. Like, maybe I need to change this.
Keep nothing of the dead.
His exact words. Because like there's stuff that I paraphrase and there's stuff that I written down that were his exact words.
And how do you know that was Jesus? What led you to believe that it was Jesus?
It felt like Jesus. It was
just an inner knowing.
It's an inner knowing. Yes, it's an inner knowing. Now, the other thing is you always have those wonderful friends and family members that when you tell them your story of what happened, it's like, well, how do you know that wasn't the devil tricking you? And the only answer I've come up with that is everything he said is backed up in the Bible.
Yeah, I can't find fault with anything. Skulls, cleanliness, ignorant, the whole, like, keep no symbols.
That's the only thing I can say is his words are actually backed up in the Bible as I read through it, which leads me to believe, like, yes, I think this is Jesus. It feels like Jesus to me, and it's backed up by the Bible. I mean, of course, none of us will ever have exact proof, but that's what I feel.
And it's crazy, Melissa, that you were praying before you were reading the tarot cards.
No, I did. I used to say the Our Father, like, Jesus, come help me give answers to the people. And like I said, the first passage I opened up to in the Bible was you can't dine with God and devil at the same time. You can't do both. And that's what I was doing. But I thought I was doing God's work. Like, I've been a nurse for 28 years. I take care of people. I love people. My intention was to help people. And then when I opened up and I could hear and see things, I thought I was using it to help people like God's work. And then like I said, all those messages started coming to me through my son, through other people, through YouTube. This is not what you think it is. This is demonic. And I didn't even believe it at first. I'm like, what? Could I be
Melissa, the path to hell is paved with good intentions, right?
Yes, it is.
And that's what I see all these people, the glorification, just, the Pride Month and all these different things people celebrating. And it's just, I understand the compassion and everything else, but people just don't understand what kind of doors they're opening, what kind of things. It's, when the spiritual side is closed, you can't see. It's kind of like people that sleep around. It's like, what's the harm in that? And like, well, soul ties and different things that you don't see, that you carry things over. There are right things and wrong things of doing things, and ignorance is not bliss.
No, it's not. And that's why, like I said, I'm really afraid for the people of the world, because when I look around, it's like most people are deceived. And when you're talking about soul ties, because I jumped right into the meat of this is what happened. Jesus showed up. This is what he told me. But that's how it started. I actually had a relationship with a man from Haiti. And like I said, I didn't know anything about spiritual stuff. Like, I believed in God, but I didn't know all this demonic stuff or people do spells. I didn't know all that stuff. But I had a relationship with a man from Haiti, and that's when all this started. And he was apparently involved in like voodoo and stuff like that. And I had no clue.
Wow. Well, Melissa, this was powerful. This is amazing. I learned so much. I feel like that's why I love these conversations. There's so many things that I learned so much from these conversations, things that I didn't know myself. And quick question: would you be interested in being on the main show on camera, sharing this?
Sure.
Think about it. Pray about it. I'll send you the link to the calendar. It's the same process, how to get on this call. And you can choose a time that works best for you. I'd love to continue that conversation there and go in more depth, more detail. There's definitely a lot of good things here that people need to hear. But
right.
Anyway.
That's my goal. If I was deceived and I can save two or three people from being deceived, or just open up their eyes that something around them might not be what they think, then it's selfish of me not to share it.
So a lot of antique stores are pretty much stores full of all kinds of spirits, if you think about it.
Well, listen, he said keep nothing of the dead. That's clothes, furniture, rings. Like, I went through a lot, Vlad. It's no joke. I was crying when I was throwing this stuff out. I was crying when I was burying stuff, because it's related to your family and stuff too, you know? And then once I got rid of it all, like that 100 decks of tarot cards and all, I looked at my space being cleared of all that stuff, and I was like, I was obsessed. I was like obsessed with this stuff. I'm like, why? It came out of nowhere. I didn't do it when I was younger. You know what I mean? So something definitely got a hold of me and brought me in that direction, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Sobering message for sure.
No, thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Well, Melissa, we'll stay in touch. Love to continue this conversation on the main show. Hopefully very soon.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day.
Take care. You too. God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. If this call caught your attention, wait until you see what's coming up next. It should be on the screen right now. Go ahead and click on that video, and I'll see you there.